for joining us. We're coming to you from the Athena Hotel in Bukolobi, and tonight we're speaking about hope after cancer in children. I'll quickly introduce my guests for this evening, and I'll start with Dr. Joseph Lubega, who is sitting next to me. He's a children's cancer specialist. Thank you so much for joining us once again.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and we have Mrs. Jonah Nyanguru, who is a mother and also a humanitarian aid worker. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right, let's say it as it is. Well, cancer seems to be a death sentence. We all know somebody or some bodies who have lost their loved ones, or our own people who've lost their lives due to cancer. But cancer in children is especially hard to deal with. Maybe it's because they're children and there's a certain sense of, attachment or feeling of you can't control this when it comes to children. So let's start from there. What is cancer, Dr. Joseph?
So thank you so much. So cancer really means that for some reason, one of the many millions of body cells someone has gets out of control, starts multiplying so fast, such that it grows into a swelling. And typically then the problems start when that swelling starts pressing on other organs or digging through them, and therefore people may start bleeding, or pressing on nerves so they feel pain. And one unique characteristic of cancer is those cells can sometimes even move away from where they started to other parts of the body where they're supposed to grow.
So that's when you say it has spread.
Exactly. And then they start causing problems there.
Are there, you said for some reason, are there particular reasons why cancers may occur?
Yes, so the science of it is kind of an enigma. What really pushes a specific cell in the body to become cancerous? But we know things that tend to drive cells towards that, and usually they are things that irritate cells over a long period of time, and that includes things like cigarette smoking, excessive alcohol intake for prolonged periods of time, age by itself. As people's bodies age, their cells are fatigued, so they become more likely to get cancer, become cancerous. So that's why cancer is a lot more common in grown-up people. And viruses, we know, for example, HIV, they tend to cause cancer. So we know things that tend to predispose to cancer, but the exact moment when a cell, switches and becomes this rogue cell in the body is difficult for even scientists to understand why it happens.
So our focus tonight is on children. Is it different, cancer in children, to cancer in adults?
Absolutely, it's very different. I would say three main differences between cancers in children and adults is that whereas in adults, usually there is something you can point to that may have caused it, including the fact that they're older. In children, most of the time, we have no clue what causes their cancers. So often in children, we can't even talk about preventing cancers in children because we don't know what causes it. So we assume it is a random freak mutation, a change in the DNA makeup of a cell that causes it. The other unique thing about cancers in children is that they tend to grow very fast. So whereas in adults, typically we assume by the time they become aware that they have this cancer process going on in their bodies, probably a year plus has passed. In children, we think normally it's a few weeks or months.
Wow.
So their cancers tend to grow very fast. As a matter of fact, the fastest known growing cancer is a cancer of children, which is a lymph node cancer that's common in Uganda, where we know it can double in size every single day. So if a child had 1 gram of cancerous tumor today, tomorrow they will have 2 grams, and next day 4 grams. So it's really multiplies exponentially.
The group of children I usually see on the street, I don't know if you've seen them, and I think they belong to a particular home with swollen face on one side, and I don't know if you've seen them?
Yeah, so tumors of the face, common occurrence in children, common among cancers in children, but actually there are a variety of them. You cannot really pinpoint a type of cancer by, where it has grown, but there are a variety of cancers that tend to present in the face.
You're a children's cancer specialist. What drove you into this specialty?
It's the third point I was actually going to make
Okay.
about the unique things about cancer in children is that they're highly curable. So most of us think about cancer as a death sentence. I think with most people, once you mention the word cancer, probably the next thing that crosses their mind is death. But it's because most of that experience comes from the adult world.
Okay.
Right now, as we speak, about 80% of children with cancer in developed countries are cured. And cure means, they go through therapy for maybe 6 months, a year, 3 years. And after that, there's no more cancer in their bodies.
There's no recurrence.
There's no recurrence. They move on with their lives. Okay. The other 20% may have recurrences, may die during therapy. But the point is, the bulk of children with cancer can be treated and cured.
Okay.
And when I was a trainee in the medical school here in Uganda, in Makerere, you saw all these kids going through this and many of them dying. Whereas you read textbooks and they told you, oh, this cancer can be cured, right? And so what drove me into this field was the realization that actually we can do something about these children and cure them. And of course, as usual, there is a child who kind of triggers your passion in the field. And mine was a little 6-year-old girl from Bwaise who I saw on the awards in Molago way back in 1999. And she had a tumor in her abdomen, and the tumor grew while she was on the wards, and people still trying to work out what was going on with her, to the point that it was pressing on her spine. She became paralyzed, and eventually she got a diagnosis, and it was cancer. By the time the diagnosis came, it was too late to cure her, and eventually she died. And it was a very sad process seeing a child walking in and then getting paralyzed and then moving on to the point of dying. And it showed me that our system was in a place where we could do better, but we didn't have the capacity at the time to do the right thing.
Because I know it's probably a very long period since then to now, I want to find out if we're doing better, but we're going to come to that. Jonah has been very quiet throughout this conversation, and I think it's a good time to bring her in now. Tell me about your daughter, Ariana.
Ariana is 3 and 11 months now. She was diagnosed with cancer at her 1 year.
When she was 1 year old?
Yeah, when she was 1 year old. And she was diagnosed with retinoblastoma, which is cancer of the eye.
You even pronounce it well enough. You're like a doctor.
So, and it so happened, before diagnosis, I'd seen something strange in the eye that really forced me to go to seek medical health care. So it was kind of like a reflection of the light, like when you flash light into a pussycat. So I saw it once, but then I couldn't trace it any other time. I tried to open the eye, there's nothing. I took time actually to go to the hospital. Until now, it appeared more in camera. When I would take a picture, I would see the right eye has something. So at first I thought it was a flashlight. But then now the occurrence, that is one eye. And then I got to know, like, maybe the eye is not fine. I can go to a health facility. And the second my maid told me, said there is something. So I took her to Ruharo, that is in Mbarara. They checked her. And the doctor told me, it seems like a tumor and a cancerous tumor. And I looked at the guy and said, are you really serious? Because gave me an appointment like for the next week. I told him I don't work around. I work up country, so is it okay if I come over the weekend, we finalize the checkup? The guy told me, look here, I'm not kidding. I'm not scaring you. Maybe you need to come, have an appointment with a doctor. There was a specialist who was going to be in the next week. So I said, okay, it's okay. This is the life of my daughter. It's not anyone's. So I made an appointment, went there, they did a scan. From the scan, we would do another examination, but then the specialist was not around by that time. So we came to Kampala to reconfirm. So, as in getting a second opinion, we went to Kampala Hospital. We met an ophthalmologist, Dr. Semogere, I think, kind of. So we did a scan. The results were the same, like from Mbarara. So he also advised us to go to Cancer Institute to do that examination, an EUA examination and anesthesia, of which we decided to go back to Mbarara since my duty station was that side. So we decided to go back to Ruharo. Went to Ruharo, they did the examination, it was confirmed. So now we started the treatment.
Tell me about because now it's very sort of mechanical. When they confirmed and said she has cancer, what were you thinking? What went through your head?
Of course, trauma. I couldn't believe that at 1 year my daughter would get cancer. And the only thing we all know, when someone talks about cancer, you know it's something that has no cure. Even when you tell someone that the stigma that is associated with cancer is too high in this country. Because the only thing, like what I've observed most in Ruharo, most of the children have one eye. And when you go there, the women will tell you, what's the problem with your child? She has cancer. Like, the trauma they've gone through is unbearable. Then what of the child? If we don't have that moral support as parents,
what of the child?
What of the child?
But you've said something about in Ruharo, most of the children have one eye. What does that mean, Dr. Joseph?
Yes, so Ruharo is a peripheral medical center in Mbarara, but actually it has developed this specialty for care of children with eye tumors. And unfortunately, in Uganda, most of the children come at a stage when the eye cannot be saved. And the best way of curing their cancers is actually removing the eye.
Why is it in one particular? Because when she said that, I felt like the whole of that district, most of the children have one eye. Is it in a particular area?
It's because they are referred there actually. The children are referred there from many places. As a matter of fact, some children are even referred from Kampala to go to
even
to
some come
Ruharo
from
for eye care.
Sudan, from Tanzania, from different countries. It's a mission hospital.
Okay.
So I think with that foundation, like that's why more people come in. Because you find some people from Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, South Sudan, Masaka, in all other districts. They go there.
And actually, this is actually a very important part of care of cancers in children, because whereas many children get cancer, still it's not that common, such that you need centers that are specialized in doing this, where many children can go and get the same care over and over again, so that the team also develops expertise. It's the way it's done the world over. So I think centers like Ruharo actually help that you have a place where there is that specialization to do that kind of thing.
Okay. So you know what happened after you then go back to Mbarara?
Then she was put on chemotherapy, and of course we were told chemotherapy would take like for about 5 months, but then the side effects were now immense. That's when actually I came to know that this is cancer. Because at first there's no any fever, there's no any complaint of headache. She was very fine, but then when she was put on chemotherapy, it was a worst experience to any mother. So she really got bad off. She couldn't talk, she had mouth sores, she couldn't take a sip, and unfortunately I had taken her off from the breast milk. So there's nothing I can do. I called, I think, all the doctors I knew around to offer any help. I went, unfortunately in Ruharo, they don't have a PED unit. So it's just only eye treatment. So they referred me to any PED who would now manage the side effects. I ran around Mbarara, I couldn't get a good PED, and the worst of it was over the weekend. I think most doctors had traveled, so I couldn't do anything until I got some mouth gel that I applied on, and then she got a bit fine. After that, I think like on a Monday I came to Kampala, because I saw that Mbarara was not going to help me manage the side effects. I came to Kampala, we came to Uganda Cancer Institute. That's where we met Dr. Joseph.
Okay, so we're going to take a short break and we can start the journey of hope for our Ariana,
Yes.
when we return. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. We're coming to you from the Athena Hotel in Bukolobi. And Jonah, you were saying, so you met Dr. Joseph. Was that the light at the end of the tunnel? Was that when the tide changed? What happened?
Was
after
that the oncoming train in the tunnel?
Uh-huh.
I think it was everything.
Okay.
We met Dr. Joseph, who gave us some bit of counseling, at least to get some psychosocial support from him. And we sat with him, and he took us through, at least he gave us some word of encouragement that it's not the end. A lot can be done, and she'll be fine. So it took us 5 months for chemotherapy at Uganda Cancer Institute. It was so hectic with also work.
So you were now working in Kampala?
Now I'm working in Kampala. By that time I was in Kamwenge. So, and it was a weekly treatment every Friday. You are at Murago. So the only good thing is that my employers by that time were also very kind. They gave me 2 months off, which was not part of my annual leave. So at least I was in Kampala for the 2 months taking care of her. And hair went off. Your bathing hair remains in your hand. What is this? It was really traumatizing. But the good thing, I had also family support. My family was supporting a lot. My husband's family was supporting a lot. So at least I was not alone in the struggle. So every Friday I would go for treatment. And Saturday you again in the hospital, Sunday in the hospital, Monday in the hospital. Because now the immune had gone down, infections. Every time we're calling Dr. Joseph, hey, Dr. Joseph, temperature is over 38. Run to the hospital. Either it's at 2 a.m., it's at 3 a.m., you're running back to the hospital. They check, they do what they can do. At least you go on. Then she would be vomiting, I think because of the drugs. So she would vomit, throw out. And then when maybe it's worse, again, Dr. Joseph. I think Dr. Joseph was not sleeping by that time.
Imagine how many patients you were seeing at the same time.
Because anything small, they said, okay, when temperatures are 37.5, you need to call. So on
I was actually waiting for the calls. It sounded like there were surprise calls.
So your phone is constantly on. You never put your phone on
the
silent?
phone is on, and we have a team. We work as a team, but the reality is that when we give these therapies to children, we know exactly what we are doing, and we know the side effects to expect. And one of the things clearly I did with Jonah and her family, Ariana's family, was really to take them through what kind of therapy they're going to receive, and the side effects to expect, and what to do when they get those side effects. And the instructions were, call me when they happen, and I know they are going to happen. Just it's a matter of when they will happen. And the patients who really go through this successfully are the patients like her who actually follow the instructions and call you when these things happen.
So he was saying all of these things to you and saying, this is what's going to happen. And then when these things were happening, were you prepared in any way?
I think to me I was prepared. Someone who's always positive. So even from the time she was diagnosed, I was too much positive. I knew like things will turn around for the best, that she'll be fine. Okay. So as not much, I think the kind of work I do also supported me, because I do much more psychosocial therapy to the people I work with. So it put me at that level to understand, to accept that this is the reality, and we need to support our daughter to go through it, and everything will come out.
When did you start to see changes that she's getting better?
After the 5 months of chemotherapy, around January 2017, we took her back for review. She was fine. So we keep on doing reviews, periodical reviews. So after that time, unfortunately, in the same year, around July, there's some reoccurrence. So which they did not put her back on chemotherapy. They put on another treatment option, which is called cryotherapy. So they do kind of like freeze. They use the freezing method. Doctor will elaborate more. So she was put on that from July up to November 2017. And then she got fine. As usual, would go for review. Everything is fine. Now until late last year in September. Again, there was some reoccurrence.
How did you tell that this is a reoccurrence?
No, I can't tell from my side. It's the doctor.
Okay.
When I take her for review.
For review.
Yeah. So still, then they also put her back on cryotherapy, and then I think early this year they had to inject kind of like chemotherapy direct to the eye. There is how they call it medically. I can't tell it right now.
You tell me how you understand.
It's called intra something.
Intravitreal, it's called.
So because now like the doctor was explaining like if she can't be put back on chemotherapy through the bloodstream, it would take much time because I think the part of the eye there were no vessels where it would lead directly, where chemo would directly go. So they opted for direct chemo into the eye. So lucky enough, by I think could be 2 weeks ago when I was in the hospital. By end of April, went for review. She was fine. By end of mid June, I went for review again. She's still fine. There's nothing.
Is she on any medication now? Nothing.
No.
She can see it with her eyes.
She can see. If you meet her, you won't think.
Oh, she's an absolutely normal child. She's
You
grown
won't think.
from a little baby to a big
Now her hair is back.
girl.
She
playing around, running around, going to school now.
She's in school.
Yeah.
So like everything is fine about her. It's actually like no one would know even when she was on treatment, apart from when her hair went off.
Yeah.
That when you're walking and everyone is asking you, why did you cut off the girl's hair?
And I think Jonah really highlights a few key things about cancer care, more so in children. There are so many intricacies, especially children with cancer, say the eye cancer that Ariana has. You need experts who really know exactly what they're doing.
I mean, if you're going to inject directly into the eye.
Exactly. Just let you know, Ariana's tumor was actually a few millimeters. So basically a dot on the back of the eye. And in a way she's unique in that most children with cancer come to us looking very sick. And when we give them chemotherapy, they get better until they feel unwell because of the side effects of chemotherapy. In Ariana's case, she came looking well because all she has is a dot of a cancer tumor in the eye, and chemotherapy made her feel a little bit sicker. But then when you went through the chemotherapy to try and get rid of that tumor, the next stage is really keep looking, checking frequently to make sure it doesn't come back. Because in her case, we wanted to make sure we save her eye because we felt her eye could be saved. The easiest way would be take out the eye and the whole story is over. But if you can't save the eye, you should do it. And that's why she's been through this journey where we keep checking, and she has recurrences, we get rid of them.
Do we say that Ariana was lucky that her mother saw it early and came in early enough?
Absolutely. And probably eye cancer is one of the few cancers in children which people can actually detect. In most advanced societies, it's the parent who actually notices for the first time that their child has eye cancer. And typically that's because they look in the child's eyes and they realize one eye is white and not looking normal. Or if you take a picture of the child, normally in a camera, especially little children, the centers are red. If one side is white and the other side is red, then the white side is abnormal. And that's really considered a key sign that a child may have eye cancer and they should see a doctor for examination.
And we're in the picture generation.
Mm-hmm.
So we're taking pictures all the time. I hope that doesn't get covered in with all the effects we can put now in the picture. So you don't pay attention to it because you can change the way a picture looks.
Exactly. And like Jonah said, many parents, even in the US, when they take pictures of their kids and one eye looks different, the first thing they think, oh, there's something wrong with the camera,
Yeah.
or maybe there is this. And unless people are aware that actually it can be a sign of a serious abnormality. It's not always cancer. There are other things that can make a child's eye white. They're all serious issues. But this is one of the rare cases where you can catch the cancer early. And obviously, very responsible parents went saw doctors. The doctors did the right thing in closely examining the eye, having put the child to sleep, confirmed there was a tumor. And we got other radiotherapy without being too aggressive without being take out her eye and cure the cancer forever. And we think she's going to do well. These recurrences are actually expected in this type of cancer. And that's why she gets frequent examinations. We expect the recurrences, and we know we can keep
At what point do
getting
you
rid of them.
say the chances are high we're not going to have any more recurrences?
So normally we say that around the age of 4 to 5 years, when these kids stop getting recurrences. We are hoping that it's kind of getting to the end of Ariana's recurrences. We also only do this in situations where we know we have a backup plan,
Okay.
which is that if this tumor starts growing and we cannot get rid of it, we have another extra step where we can go in and do surgery on the eye. But we'll try our best to save the eye if it can be saved.
Well, that's not going to be necessary in Ariana's case, right?
We hope not.
We hope not.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's take a short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. We're coming to you from the Athena Hotel in Bugolobi, and tonight we're speaking about hope for children with cancer. And from your story, Jonah, there's hope.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out in Uganda what are the prevalence rates? What does it look like for the cancers in children?
We have estimates which are mostly based on the central area. Thankfully, Uganda has had a cancer registry. It was called the Chadondo Cancer Registry since the 1950s. And it has gone on since then, run under Makerere University. And right now, the estimate is there are probably around 6,000 to 7,000 children who develop cancer every year in Uganda.
This is not one type of cancer.
Different types of cancers. So that includes children who develop leukemia, the blood cancers, which are the most common, children who develop kidney cancers, muscle cancers, lymph node cancers, eye cancers. I'll say those are the most common cancers we see. The one cancer that's quite common in children out there that we don't see commonly here are brain tumors. We think that's not because children in Uganda don't get them, but we think that's because they can be difficult to suspect and diagnose.
So it could be something else. Also,
Yes.
we think.
Yeah, these children will have abnormal behavior. They may, be what people here call being stubborn or not listening, and maybe they get whipped. They may get seizures, which sometimes doesn't go to the right doctors for treatment, because seizures in Uganda are still considered a highly stigmatized disease, Nsimbu, like they call it. We don't have easy access to scans, especially CT scans of the brain to detect brain tumors. We don't have easy access to surgeons, brain surgeons. So for all those reasons, we think there's no reason for us to think children in Uganda don't get brain tumors like children elsewhere. But those are really the most common cancers in children. Mm-hmm. And if you look at, for example, compare that to how common HIV is now in Uganda, where the estimate is about 3,000 new children get HIV in Uganda every year. So you're talking about twice as many children with cancer compared to children with HIV every year.
You mentioned earlier you were speaking about why you joined this specialty, and I was wondering if the picture you painted then of our situation in Uganda is still what it is now. But when I hear Jonah's story, then I'm thinking it's a better picture.
Yeah, it's much better. Several things have changed. One, I think, is the general state of healthcare in the country has improved, such that there are many places where children go and get blood tests when they are sick, and sometimes inadvertently those blood tests detect, oh, this child has very high white count, blood cells in their blood, and people then send them to us and we confirm they have leukemia. People get more scans done for different reasons when they are sick. There are more pediatricians in the country. But also in terms of specialized cancer care, one of the things we focused on, especially over the last 3 years, is training specialists. As of 2016, Uganda didn't have a single children's cancer specialist.
And
now we have at least 7 trained and really, really well trained. We have very clear systems for taking care of these patients. What we don't have is, what we need to do really now is to try and expand access to care for most of the children. Right now, on the Mulago Hill, we probably take care of at most 10% of all the children with cancer in this country. So most of the children,
the 90%,
probably die in lower level health centers without access to even a diagnosis.
I was trying to picture Jonah's situation, and I was trying to look at how much it would have cost you that period of time, leave alone emotionally, but even financially.
Financially, we didn't spend a lot of money. At Cancer Institute, the treatment was for free.
Oh.
Even at Ruharo, the treatment is for free. Maybe if we spent like the first examination that was conducted, it's well paid money. Maybe a lot of money was spent on transport, because you really do incur a lot of transport costs. Like us who do review from Barara, you have to really put in transport to transport you up to Barara, but then also to give like a general view for other parents, because you find would meet parents from Bare, from Arua, so would also incur a lot of transport. At least we thank God that at Cancer Institute treatment was for free, but some also you would find like a few times maybe like such kind of medicine is out of stock and you need to buy, so once in a while. But to me, I'd never
You'd never really spent that much on
I've never bought any medicine. The time I was to buy actually a medicine, it was something to boost up the cells. Her cells were down, so she couldn't be given chemotherapy. So I was to buy that medicine to boost up. So it so happened, I'd gone to First Pharmacy, it was not there. I went to Vine. So the last minute, we found it in the pharmacy. And the pharmacy said, this is the last one is here, take it. And that's how we were able to.
How is it free?
Yeah, so as you know, medical care in any of the government of Uganda facilities is free. The challenge is always whether the care is actually there, right? Because often there are stockouts and all sorts of challenges. In this case, what we've done again over the last 3 years is through the support of Texas Children's Hospital, we've been able to make sure that parents don't have to buy chemotherapy for their children, don't have to pay for scans and cost for pathology to examine the tissues. Because these are very costly things, and short of finding other means to support them, they'll never get them. And like Jonah said, most of the parents come from very deprived backgrounds, but even gets worse when the patient is a child.
Yeah.
We still live in a culture where children are still considered disposable in our culture. If one has a serious disease, they move on, you can have another one. So the only way we can save these children is often to really support the parents, the mothers, to get through therapy, be it financial support, social support.
Whatever support. What are the chances of survival as we close?
Well, so if you ask me overall, it's about, you'd say 80%. But right now, there are cancers, even in Ugandan children, like some lymph node cancers, where over 90% of the children are cured. There are some other cancers where close to 0% of the children are cured. So really it depends on the specific type of cancer and at what stage the child shows up. But overall, it's really good for children.
Okay. What would you like to tell parents as we close, Jonah? What is your message from your experience?
My message is really we need parents need really to take their children for checkup. We shouldn't take things for granted, because if I had taken it for granted, I think maybe my child would have lost her eye, or it would be too late. Because first of all, she never had any fever. She was not complaining of headache. She was very fine.
It was the selfie that saved the day.
So now, if I had taken it for granted, maybe I would take her maybe at the worst stages. So maybe losing life, losing her eye, all those sorts
as a matter of fact, the kind of cancer Rihanna has, one of the types where if it's still a dot in the eye, the back of the eye, over 90% of those children are cured. If it's latent, grows into the brain, it's game over. So the outcome always vary depending on the exact circumstances.
Then the other thing is what I've seen from Murago, we really need much more of kind of like a psychosocial support.
Yes.
Because most of the parents that we have met in Murago are parents from really, their socioeconomic status is also not good. And then most of them are women. There are social issues that have come up with cancer. Women are telling stories of how they went back home and the husband is telling them, in our family, we don't have cancer.
It's you,
so pack your things and leave. The time she comes and spends 3 months, 2 months in the hospital, when she goes back, there's another madam. So it has caused gender-based violence in our communities. And there's we really need a lot of awareness. People are not aware that, first of all, cancer is not maybe it's
contagious.
Not contagious. You're not bewitched.
Yeah, you're not bewitched or blah blah.
It doesn't run in families necessarily. It's not inherited.
So at least we need a lot of awareness on that, and then we need really support from our spouses. It's not a woman who should take the child to hospital every now and again. The father you have a role to play. We need to raise up these children together. We need to support each other. But you find a hospital only women. Why?
Yeah.
Where are the fathers? What did they do? What are their roles? Are roles really,
and that's
different?
And it's really a common problem
really,
what she's saying, because you can imagine a mother who's dealing with such a serious diagnosis in the child, and then at the back of her head, she's dealing with a husband, with a spouse, who is saying, this is your fault, I don't even have money for you, or what are you even doing in Kampala? It looks like you're just enjoying staying in the city. And often when you actually have a chance to connect with these fathers and talk to them, they come around and realize, oh, yeah, actually things are serious, but also the things that can be done.
I don't know why they have to sit and talk to them. It should be common sense. But anyway, that is my thinking.
They're men.
They're men.
Yes.
But we need a society. We need a society that is so supportive that even the men are supporting their wives. Because we are all parents. At the end of it all, this is our child, it's not my own child. And I have a story of a mother who was sharing with me the time when they realized the child had cancer. The man ran away and told her, I can't be with actually two blind people, because she was a survivor. The mother is a survivor.
Survivor of cancer.
Yeah. Then the child is also a survivor. So the man ran away. Up to now, the woman is taking care of herself and her child. And then, if you're to look into at the Cancer Institute, maybe you also need kind of like a social worker to really support the parents.
I was going to ask about what kind of support the parents get.
To also support the parents emotionally, because we are so different and our knowledge levels are also different. So we need also to put it into consideration that we need really such kind of support at the Cancer Institute or at any other facility where we know. Because if you walk into most of these government hospitals, you won't see any social worker.
The focus is on the patient.
Yeah, it's on the patient, the doctor, patient, and that. And then the other thing, we also have an association for Children with Cancer Caregivers Association, which is really also playing a great role in our lives, because it was to give us a platform as parents to come and share learn from the different parents, learn the coping mechanism, share ideas, best practices, and support each other financially and
Otherwise.
and any other moral support.
Right.
So at least it's also helping us to come together to make follow-ups, because some parents might not come back, and then you're able to follow up, trace, and know that so and so is not turning up. What could be the program? So if we all could have such kind of platform, it would really help us. The final one maybe that really I would like to put forward is just to really thank Dr. Joseph and the team. They're really doing a great work, and we hope our country would really have such kind of committed doctors. Because if it's not someone's commitment, I don't think we would find the Cancer Institute like how it is. To me, I knew Murago, the way how people talk about Murago is actually different the way I found it. Because I always tell people that the treatment I get at Murago maybe is the Murago of international Murago. Because it's really different. They have the care, the facility.
It's a good idea. You can rename it Mulago International Hospital.
So it's really so you really find that UCI is really much different than maybe the other departments.
More than we think.
Sorry?
More than we think.
Yeah.
I think it's
So
just the spotlight is on this now.
So it's really good, and it's just to, say thank you to the team.
Dr. Joseph, your closing remarks after the thanks they've given you.
Yes, so I think that the key message, and I think Jonah's experience demonstrates that, one, children do get cancer. Two, when children get cancer, they can be treated and cured. But that process requires a really high level of expertise and organization of the team doing that. And any parents out there, if their child is diagnosed with cancer, it's not a death sentence. They should seek the right care. They should come to us in Mulago Hospital, and we'll do everything possible to take care of them.
All right. Thank you both so much. Thank you for sharing that story, Jonah, and thank you, Dr. Lubega, for coming to the show once again to share your expertise and these insights. That brings us to the end of our show for tonight. We've been speaking about hope after cancer in children. Coming up is NTV Weekend Edition.